Now here is something you don't see every day, my friends. Stay tuned, we'll pull it out of its sheath and talk about it a little. Hi gang, Rob here. It's the morning of 25 February 2014. Got an interesting little knife to show you guys today. This is a guest blade and a sharpening job actually. Sent in by my buddy Will, Sergiad on YouTube. What it is a Curtis Knives assault necker. Designed and built by Dave Curtis of Curtis Knives. And best Will and I can tell, this knife probably produced around 2009. Looks like an early stage in the progression of a knife maker. Like most knife makers, I think Dave started doing blade wipe. Dave started doing fixed blades first, and probably small ones like this. Kind of an interesting little blade. Let's kind of talk about what it is first. It is a neck knife, and an interesting one, I think, because the original sheath that came with it is Kydex. It's a fold-over type, and it actually accommodates the knife, and I guess was designed, according to Will, designed to accommodate a mini Maglite, but Will says you can't really get a mini Maglite in here. Of course, it's been adapted for belt carry. Got a big old full-size tech lock on here. And then the blade itself, let's get the sheath out of the way, is a blade length of 2 13/16. It is saber ground, hollow ground, so more than half the blade is flat, and then we've got a hollow grind that comes down to behind the cutting edge, and it is a fairly large radius hollow grind, and it is fairly thick behind the edge. We'll talk about that as we get into it here. It is a full tang design, handle length of 2 11/16. Blade stock thickness appears to be 5/32, and the thickness of the handle is kind of chunky at 11/16 wide. Handle put together, of course, as you can see, with brass pins. And the handle material appears to be something like lightning strike carbon fiber. I don't know if you can pick up the fibers. I guess it appears to be a little different than most lightning strike I've seen. It might be some kind of a Kieranite type product. I'm not sure. Maybe Will, if you know, or if anybody else knows, weigh in the comments. It's kind of hard to make out. It's just a 2-finger knife, obviously designed for an emergency or backup defensive roll. It does snap into the sheath pretty securely. It does move around a little bit, but it would be plenty secure in a neck carry type roll. The blade material, according to Will, is CPM 3V, and if you look closely you can see a little spotting, a little patina that would indicate that's probably the case. From the way it's sharpened, I have no doubt that's what it is. It's kind of a, well, I guess it's a 2-grip knife. You're not going to go reverse on it probably. You know, it is kind of what it is, a knife that you're going to pull out at a really bad time and use for defensive purposes. Now, when I got this knife, it was pretty strangely ground to the edge. Because it thickens so much at the tip, I mean, look at the tip on that thing. The sharpening job that was on it when I got it yielded some pretty wide angles, and they had to stay pretty wide. As you can see, my bevel width is very wide, and it is starting to kind of eat up the primary bevel, especially at the tip. When I got it, the knife was about 25 degrees per side down here in the main cutting edge, and about 29 degrees per side. Yeah, 60, almost 58 degrees inclusive at the tip. And you know, Will wasn't real happy with that, but I couldn't really move it a lot. I leaned it out a little bit, and you can see my bevels are already to the point where they look almost out of proportion to the rest of the knife. And what we've got now is about 22 degrees in the main cutting edge, and then we transition to 25 about here in the belly and on up to the tip, so that that bevel appears to be about the same width. And I'm going to try to get a close-up after I wipe this blade again of what I did. I didn't freehand this, I actually sharpened it on the Edge Pro. If you look closely, you should be able to see that transition where I changed the angle from 22 to 25. Did it kind of smoothly. I think. Did end up with a couple scratches in my mirror polish just from when I changed angles. But you know, even at these really obtuse angles, the little thing does cut. Let's see if I can show you. Still phone book paper sharp, or that says Shooter Supply catalog paper sharp. Even out at that 50 degree inclusive tip, the knife still cuts. I don't think it cut very well before. I just thought you guys would like to see this because, you know, we've got lots of new makers in the knife game these days, and they all seem to kind of start here, don't they? With these little tiny fixed blade neck knives. You know, Mike Gavco started making the little ones, and I've got one, as you guys know who watch the channel, that John Davis built, Davis Blade Works, the old J Davis 882 on YouTube. And you know, now Dave Curtis is into some pretty expensive frame lock, titanium frame lock folders, and it's kind of neat to have in front of the camera on the Apostle P channel, one of his early examples. And you know, frankly, it appears as an early example. It isn't superbly finished in some areas. Kind of a rudimentary attempt at jimping. The spine of the tang doesn't look too bad, and then we come over to the underside, and we can see some different textures and some different angles as we come over the peaks of the finger grooves. And the ricasso is kind of interesting. It's probably was a fairly effective sharpening notch when the knife was new. Not big enough to be a forward finger choil by any means. See how that swedge looks. Is it pretty even? Yeah, not too bad. But, you know, we've been looking at Curtis F3s in front of the camera on YouTube for the last few years, and this knife is a bit of a far cry from there, so obviously Dave's skills have progressed nicely, but still a recognizable logo, huh? There it is. The Curtis Knives Crosshairs logo in its early stages. Pretty cool, huh? Just thought you guys would like to see that. On its way back to Will today. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the word is sharp.